Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. I'm Jeffrey Guberstein. A lot to get to, so let's just jump right in. The news of the day is that Anthony Davis is ramping up towards a return. He obviously has been out for the last month plus with the injury, and he was assigned to the Texas Legends to go practice there yesterday. Played some 5-on-5 in an effort to return this season. It sounds like AD will be back sooner rather than later, but I want to ask you this to start off today's show. Do you want Anthony Davis to return this season? Would you rather him sit out and the Mavericks tank for a better draft pick, or do you want AD to come back and try to get the Mavs into the play-in? Type Y for yes or type N for no to kick off today's show. I'll be looking at the responses down in the comment section. First things first, I think it's just wild that Anthony Davis is returning this season at all. Personally, I don't think there's any reason whatsoever for him to come back to return to play. But there is one obvious reason, and it's the fact that the Mavericks quite literally don't have enough healthy players to field a team coming in the next few weeks, especially when the likes of Brandon Williams and Kessler Edwards are out of two-way eligibility. The Mavericks won't be able to sign a player until April 10th, which would give them eligibility for the final two games of the season. So they quite literally need Anthony Davis to come back just to fill another body, and they can put him on a minutes restriction. They can play him 20 to 25 minutes and do whatever. I know AD wants to come back. If this was a normal season and the Mavericks didn't have an absolute injury crisis like they did right now, AD would not be returning, but they do, so he's probably going to play some games, and according to Mark Stein and others, it sounds like he's going to return before the end of March. We sit here on March 18th right now, so be looking in the next 10 to 14 days for Anthony Davis to be playing once again in a Mavericks uniform. And look, when he did play in a Mavericks uniform, it was awesome. 26-16, 7 assists and 3 blocks in just 2.5 quarters of work for AD. The first 2.5 quarters of the AD era was awesome. He was getting the crowd hype at the American Airlines Center. If you remember, that was the first home game since the trade happened, and he was getting the crowd hyped, and they were electric, and they were excited to see Anthony Davis play for the Dallas Mavericks. It was an awesome debut, and of course, then Anthony Davis gets hurt and is out for a month plus, and we have not seen him since. And I just hope he doesn't get hurt again. They clearly rushed him back from injury the first time to try to appease the fans after the trade and try to get people off their backs. And then he gets hurt right away once again and is out for extended time. I hope the same doesn't happen. I hope they're extra cautious with him. I hope he's on a minutes restriction, and I hope that we get to the offseason with Anthony Davis being fully healthy and ready to go through a healthy offseason. Jaden Hardy is also in the same boat, by the way, as he was also assigned to the Legends and went down there yesterday to practice. And look, Jaden Hardy is Jaden Hardy. He is what he is. Again, Mavericks need bodies. I don't think Hardy is anything special whatsoever. He's averaging just 8 points this season on less than 43% from the field. The Mavericks signed him to a 3-year, $18 million extension before the season, so he's obviously a very tradable asset, but he's also could be here for the long haul. But good to see Jaden Hardy back after spraining that ankle on the same night that Kyrie tore his ACL. Before we get on with the rest of today's show, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. It is youtube.com/MavsTV. We have year-round Mavericks coverage, Mavs news, rumors, analysis, and more. Free agency and draft coverage, live watch parties, and all of that good stuff. Help us get to 32,000 subscribers on today's show. Do it for our guy, OJ Mayo. Hit that sub button today. And boy, oh boy, does it only get worse from here. Since the trade from Dallas to Philadelphia, Quentin Grimes has become one of the best players in the NBA. It's an absolutely embarrassing look for the Dallas Mavericks. We'll get into all things Quentin Grimes here in just a second, but I do need to tell you guys about our sponsor, which of course is PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. PrizePicks has over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, making daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. March is basketball season, and don't miss out on the real money action with our friends at PrizePicks in over 30 states, including California, Georgia, Florida, and of course Texas. They put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. And when my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. And I do have a pick for the basketball games upcoming this week. I'm going to take the more on Janai Broom, best player in the country. You get a free square. Basically, if you think Janai Broom is going to score 1 basket in Auburn's first game, You take the more, you pair that with a couple of other projections, and you can win some real money in real time. So you can copy my picks or make some picks of your own. Just please make sure you do it with our friends over at PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get a $50 bonus when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive that bonus. It is guaranteed. Again, download the app. Use code CLNS to get a $50 bonus when you play your first $5 lineup. It is PrizePicks. Run your game. Quentin Grimes, since he has been with the Philadelphia 76ers in 17 games played and 14 starts, averaging over 20 points, 5.5 rebounds, over 51% from the field and 39% from three. Look, we knew Quentin Grimes was a good player. I don't think we knew he was this good of a player. And I will say this, on the surface, at the time of the trade made some sense because Quentin Grimes is going to be a restricted free agent this offseason. He's going to get a lot of money, and even before he's popped off in Philadelphia, he was going to get a lot of money, and the Mavericks, where they are with the luxury tax and with the apron rules, it was probably going to be pretty difficult for them to re-sign Quentin Grimes. So I get the idea of wanting to trade him, but boy, oh boy, do the Mavericks look stupid right now. Look at these last 5 games for Quentin Grimes. He is going through an absolute purple patch, 25, 35, 29, 28 in the win against the Mavericks, and last night against Houston, 46 points, 13 rebounds, a career high in both categories for QG. Like I said, I don't think anyone saw this coming from Quentin Grimes being quite literally one of the best players in the NBA since the trade. But yikes, this trade looks worse and worse by the day. Not to mention, the Mavericks also gave up a 2025 second-round pick in this deal, which was owned by Philadelphia. That pick has been passed around the league probably, I want to say almost 10 times that pick has exchanged hands, but it's back in Philadelphia's hands, who of course this year is terrible. So that pick is going to be in the low 30s and is more a valuable pick. It is the more valuable pick in the trade. This trade was an absolute joke in hindsight, and of course hindsight is 2020. But not only did Philadelphia get the better player in the deal, they also got a more valuable pick, getting their own pick back this season. That's going to be the 33rd or 34th pick in this draft. The Mavericks get a 2030 pick, which God knows what that'll look like. That might be 31, given how the trajectory of this team is going. And Caleb Martin, by the way, we showed you Quentin Grimes last 5 games. Caleb Martin has played 5 games for the Mavericks. Just played. He's only played 5 games for the Mavericks. He's injured just as much as Anthony Davis is. And yeah, he's on an affordable contract, but your best ability is availability. And Caleb Martin is not available. Oh, and by the way, when he was shooting threes, he looked like he had the yips like Markelle Fultz style back in the day, where he was almost out of the NBA. The guy's shot looks horrible, and again, Nico Harrison looks like an absolute clown making this trade. Great Nico Harrison as a GM. The 2 worst trades in the NBA this season, in my opinion, were made by one man. A, B, C, D, or F down in the comment section. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. You know what my answer is. I don't even need to give it to you, but let me know what you guys have to say down below. How did this happen? I can answer that pretty easily. The Mavericks went from a perennial playoff contender to one of the worst teams in the NBA because the GM had different ideas than everybody else. I don't know how much more there is to say than that. The guy, for whatever reason, didn't like how the team was constructed, decided to blow it up, and now the Mavericks, who could have gone to the NBA Finals this season if they had Luka Doncic on the roster. Obviously, the Kyrie torn ACL would not have helped things, but who knows if that happens if Luka is still here. We went from a team that was guaranteed to be in the playoffs every single season to a team that is going to be picking at the top of the lottery for the next few years. Oh, wait, the Mavericks don't have their first-round pick every single year because all the assets have been depleted because they were trying to build a team around Luka. None of this will ever make sense. I will never get over it as long as I live. Until that guy is no longer the GM of my team, it's going to be extremely hard to root for this team, point blank period, because of the way they were ran over the past couple of seasons. Before we get on out of here, I do want to give a huge shout out to Empire We Are, who sent in a $20 super thanks on the last show. Appreciate you, Empire. I just wanted to read your comment here. I asked on the last show how long you've been a Mavs fan. He said, from Luka getting drafted to confirmation of the trade, it was more rooting for the Mavericks, now rooting for the Lakers. I don't think you're alone in that boat, by the way. Never say never. Feel bad for real Mavs fans and for Luka. They ripped you guys apart. I thought they had a damn competitive roster. Clay, not a good move. He took Grimes minutes. I hope Luka can fall in love with a fan base again. I feel bad for you guys. I don't see anything good coming from this ownership and front office. I could not have said it better than you, Empire. It feels like we got something ripped away from us, and I'm not sure if we're ever going to get it back with this current regime. Once again, thank you for the $20 super thanks. If you guys feel so inclined, you could leave a super thanks down below, and we'll feature you on a future show like we just did there. That is going to be it for today's show, though. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. Again, my name is Jeffrey Cooperstein. You can go give me a follow on Twitter at Jeff_Coop27, and we'll see you later here on the channel.